Playoff time is here. What a wondrous occasion it is. With the one exception, this weekend sucked. This was a bad weekend of basketball in the NBA and not the jump start to the postseason that everyone was hoping for. Now, I don't think we need to come on here and say, well, how do we fix the NBA? How do we fix these issues? Or anything like that. I don't think you need to do that. It was just that you had 8 games this weekend and 6 of them sucked. That's basically what this comes down to. There wasn't much in terms of surprises. There wasn't much in terms of drama. It was all just kind of bleh. In-depth analysis that you come here for, obviously. But let's start with the exception of the weekend, and that was Denver against the LA Clippers. Denver gets, they flashed this on the broadcast, Denver gets their 8th 15-point comeback in the playoffs since 2019. Probably not really a way you want to be living your life, especially against the Clippers team that went 18-3 to close out the regular season, was actually the betting favorite in this series going into this particular matchup. But you could see why a lot of people just have this one in 7 because these two teams are very, very closely matched. One thing that was really concerning, I think, on the Denver side was how poor they were defensively. There was a lot of easy looks at the rim. Now, I do think they kind of overstated it on the broadcast a little bit. They were talking about, oh man, look at another easy look in the rim. And it's done having to go up and do like this, his no one appendage is facing the same direction and he hits a wicked spinning layup that goes in and like, oh, another easy look at the rim. It's like, was it? Like they got to the rim, and so that is easier than if you would have tried to just like spin it up from the 3-point line, but that was still a contested look anyway. But still, it was the fact that he got to the rim, and it was some very poor defense on the perimeter, which we're going to talk about a bunch today. And there was a lot of issues once you got into the paint. Jokic, I know a lot of people say, oh, you know what? His defense is actually underrated. It wasn't yesterday, or on Saturday, sorry. It was bad. He was not great defensively in this one. And so that is going to be, I think, a real problem for the Nuggets going forward. If they can't keep this Clippers team out of the paint, then they're going to have some trouble. Like Kawhi Leonard, he is a good 3-point shooter, and we saw in that game, but he loves to just dine out on mid-range jumpers, right? And James Harden, he'll chuck up a ton of 3 balls, but he does also like to kind of get into the paint and try to draw some of those stupid fouls and stuff like that. And Norm Powell, again, has worked his way into being a somewhat reliable 3-point shooter, but he likes attacking the rim as well. This is a team that really likes to attack. And so if Denver can't stop them from attacking, that's going to be a bit of an issue here. And so it looked like the Clippers were going to start to pull away. And then Jamal Murray steps up with big shot after big shot after big shot after big shot here. And he had some massive plays to get them back into this game and really get them rolling here in this one. And eventually they come away with a victory. And you had your other guys step up enough. Brown comes up with a couple of steals and some dunks when they really needed those kind of things. You got a couple of big shots from MPJ, specifically early from him. And I love that motion they run to get Gordon going a little bit, where you have Jokic at kind of the top of the circle there, and Gordon basically from the free throw line will set a screen. It lets Murray come around, and you either get a handoff to Murray where he is looping around and has a lot of momentum to either stop up for a 3 or come around and either attack the rim or see what you have, because you now have essentially 2 pick and rolls going at the same time. Or what the Clippers do, they end up doubling Murray coming around the top of it. That leaves Gordon basically wide open. Jokic is going to find that, dumps it off to him, and gets the dunk. So they got Gordon going in a very good way. This starting 5, they work together very, very effectively. And so there were obviously some great moments there. And then Russell Westbrook did just enough to not screw things up. It was very obvious the Clippers were going to let him shoot. And it was at times one of those ones where you do have to ask, hey, great that you're taking open shots. Have you wondered why you're open all the time? Because there were a few of those, but he makes some very, very big shots in this game that let the Nuggets kind of hang around and then at one point take the lead. But goddamn, did he make some dumb calls in this game too that were just so I like the Nuggets. I would like to see, I enjoy watching Jokic play. Obviously, Canadian here, want to see good things for Jamal Murray. Now, I also want to see some good things for for Norman Powell and for Kawhi Leonard and all that too. But I did find myself kind of leaning in the direction of cheering for Denver in this animated prediction of them in 7. So, you want that. You want that to be correct. And so I found myself getting incredibly frustrated with Russell Westbrook in a couple of times. One, at the end of the game, they get the ball in Jokic's hands. They go from Murray. I'm pretty sure it was a screen. And they get it to Jokic at the top of the key. A double comes off of Westbrook because obviously, and there is 6 seconds left. Jokic, if he would have, as soon as that double came, if he would have skipped it over to Westbrook, Russ has a wide open 3 and who knows. But instead, because he's not in a video game or a robot, he has to turn and face him. He passes it to Westbrook. It gave the defense just enough time to rotate over, and then Westbrook didn't have a fucking clue what to do. He just kind of got caught in a moment where he thought about shooting it, and it's like, no, I'm this isn't my shot. I should try to attack. I should try to get something. But that got cut off because the rotation came quick enough because the Clippers are good defensively, and you have Zubats over there as well. So he stops up and tries to force up this weird, awkward 3, and it doesn't exist, and it just falls down. It was very much like the end of the March Madness National Championship game. And so to have the ball coming out of a timeout with enough time that you could kind of settle up and run your offense with 10 seconds to go, and to get exactly 0 shots out of it, you can't be doing that. And then on the opposite end of it, in overtime, the Nuggets are up by, I think, 1, and so you can't just sit back and just not do anything, right? And I do understand you kind of want to do something so that if they do something, you still have time to do another something. But they are up by 1. There is, I think, 14 seconds left and 10 seconds left on the shot clock. And Westbrook's like, all right, time to go, and just drives it into the lane and forces up this ugly, awful contested layup. Now, he gets lucky because Gordon is there for the offensive rebound. And if you are a Westbrook defender, which I do somewhat fall into at times, you can say, well, he knew he could do that because you have a size advantage down low with Gordon, who can get an offensive rebound and do exactly what he did. But I don't think that thought process went in. I think Russ was like, I have ball, there is rim, let me go. And, oh man, it was just, holy cow. Could we not, like, if you feel like there is a lane to go and you're up by 1 and there's 10 seconds left, again, just like you can't, because you have to take a shot at some point. You don't want to let them hold it and like, oh, hey, we held it, we missed, now they have a chance to win. If you have something, then go. But he didn't, and it missed, and they get lucky because Gordon gets the offensive rebound, makes a couple of free throws, and they end up being able to ice that game away. But holy cow, the Russell Westbrook experience was on in full display out in Denver on Saturday afternoon. On the Clippers side, Leonard and Harden were just simply fantastic. Both of them put on very, very good performances. I thought Zubats was strong, really, as well. You got a couple good shown, like Powell hit a couple of good shots. Also, the big thing for them is that just that final stop that they needed in overtime, they never really got it. They got the stop at the end of regulation, but even then, to get it to that point where they needed to hit a couple of big shots late, they needed a couple of more stops, and those just weren't coming for them. And so I do still think that this is going to be a lengthy series. I don't think that seeing that you're thinking, okay, well, now Denver's got it. I think you are kind of on the assumption, oh my God, Denver just stole one. Thank God they were on home court and didn't just lose home court advantage, which is the biggest advantage they have in this series. So desperation time comes through for the Denver Nuggets, but settle in, folks, because this is going to be a long series. And we got, for what the weekend was, a banger of a game, by real, actual eyeball standards, an okay game between the Detroit Pistons and the New York Knicks. Eventually, a lot of guys on the Knicks had big moments. OG Anunoby was massive at both ends in this game, coming up with 19 points in the first half, really extending the offense with his range from three-point shooting. Like, he was the best version of OG Anunoby on Sunday or Saturday afternoon. Just making all of those shots and defensively taking on the number one assignment on the other team and really making life difficult on Cade Cunningham early on. And that was where, from a Knicks standpoint, you were getting a little bit concerned because OG is knocking him down from 3. And on the Detroit side, Cade was doing nothing. I think he started like 2 for 7 or something like that, which like percentage-wise doesn't look too terrible, but just on the court, it didn't look great for him. And the Pistons were still hanging around and at one point winning. Beasley was hitting a couple of good shots from distance, and they were just kind of hanging around in this game. And so you were getting a little bit concerned, like, look, we have shut their guy down, and we're still not ahead here. What is going on? And then eventually things start to wake up a little bit. Cat has a couple of big plays on offense. I like he is obviously very confident in his three-point shooting. I think we've established that, right? But he also, I like it when he can attack a little bit, and it is not the quickest of first steps or anything like that, but he had Tobias Harris on him because that was one of the adjustments we were looking for in this series, is how do they defend Karl Anthony Towns, the three-point shooter, because before it was with Stewart and Duran, and they would just back off, and Cat is going to hit those. Say what you will about the guy, he's going to hit those. And so instead, they put Tobias Harris on, who they feel a little bit more comfortable going out and challenging him at that distance, but Cat is like 100 pounds bigger than him. And so he didn't just like NBA Live style post him up from the top of the key, but he just went right into his chest and drove in and got some buckets. So I do like how Cat played in this game. And so those guys came up with some big plays while Brunson was trying to find it. And then eventually Brunson did find it. And maybe in playoffs, he just needs to have one injury before he can really get going. But the ankle roll gives you some concern on the Knicks side. But Brunson eventually does get going. And then Josh Hart, man, every year you watch him in the playoffs, and every year it is just like, this is a dude who you win with. He makes those basketball plays that are the types of plays that you need this time of year to be successful. So many opportunities, so many second chance opportunities, and offensive rebounds and big plays defensively. He was just everywhere when they needed him. And still, it was a little bit close. And then Cam Payne comes in, and he is, I don't even want to say polarizing, because we all know what he is at this point. When it is on, hot damn, man, it is so valuable, because the other team, they're not expecting it. It feels like found money for you, and it just feels like a gut punch when he goes out and just starts styling on guys. And he had a couple of big shots that launched that 21-0 run for the Knicks at the end of this game that helps them pull away. So from a Knicks standpoint, if you are a Knicks fan, you got great contributions from everyone you wanted to, right? OG, Cat, Brunson, Hart. You get some extra ones from even Robinson, like some big plays inside, helps you out there too. And then Payne gives you some energy off the bench. So you're feeling like, okay, everyone contributed. We ended up winning this game. That's fantastic. On the we're concerned aspect of it, you get a little bit worried because you needed a 21-0 run to kind of put a wrap on things. And that's, suboptimal, I would say, when you need to put that kind of a thing together to win a basketball game. You had to try really hard against this Pistons team. So a little bit of concern, I would say, there on a Knicks standpoint. But you have to be fine with how the Detroit Pistons started this series. They did a lot of good things for this being their first playoff game. They hung around for a really long time. They had their top player kind of feeling it a little bit. He's locked down by one of the better defensive players in the league. You're on Madison Square Garden. You got Breen 8 steps away from you, yelling bang at different points. Like there's a lot going on in your playoff debut at Madison Square Garden. And so eventually he kind of settles in, and your other guy, like Tim Hardaway Jr., had a great game, letting Cade kind of get the feel of everything. And I thought, again, Beasley hit a lot of really good shots to get them rolling in this game. And so, again, Cade eventually gets his playoff legs under him, and you're feeling good about it. The one thing, and this is where the inexperience comes, is once the Knicks got rolling, this team couldn't stop it. Late, that momentum is building, the Garden is bumping, people are getting fired up. Again, bang is being yelled over there, and you have a young team that just, they can't stop it. They haven't experienced this before. It's one thing to face a bit of a 9-0 run against the Knicks on a Tuesday in January, but this is the playoffs at the Garden, and it got to the Pistons, I think, a little bit. So a very valuable learning experience. I don't know if it is enough to make a difference into a game 2, but a very valuable learning experience for the Detroit Pistons. A reminder, if you missed any of the live stream today, you can catch it all in podcast form. Just search Couch Potato Diary wherever you get your podcasts, including on Apple Podcasts. We move on. What a performance by the Minnesota Timberwolves. They needed their offense to step up, and the big question we had coming into the series was, will they be able to shoot from distance. If they can do that, then they have a real opportunity here in this series. And oh my God, did they? Let me just take a look here really quick. I wanted to see the official stats on this one before we dive in. I just kind of forgot to pull that up in doing the prep for today. Killing some time, getting over here. From three, they were, 21 of 42. It really felt like they had more of an edge on that than 6 extra threes, which is 18 extra points, which ends up being close to the game, I guess. But it felt like, honestly, 21 threes, that's a lot. 21 of 42, when you're shooting 50% and you're putting up over 40 shots from three, that's a very good night. And that still feels low for what they were able to do, because they were all from deep, and they all just felt like daggers when it's Reid pulling up, and you have Anthony Edwards getting away from the steal of LeBron and jacking one up from distance. It felt like soul-crushing threes that these teams were getting, and really, really disappointing from a Lakers standpoint when that was tough. And then, like, after that barrage, it's just like Reid was fantastic. Edwards was great. He gets banged up in this game, and I think came back for a little bit and then left again. But either way, they were great. And then the area you thought they were going to control, they started off a little bit slowly on, right? Like, they were out-rebounded and out-second-chanced in the first quarter, and you're thinking, man, if the Lakers can win that, then this thing is a wrap. And you're watching it early on, because I watched this after I knew what happened. And so you're watching it early on, and it's like, okay, well, Luka has 12 of the first 28 points in this game. They have an 8-point lead. Like, how did this go? And they're dominating in the paint. How did this go so sideways? Well, then they stopped dominating in the paint, and they were just getting crushed down low. And so again, that is where that big advantage that Minnesota has really starts to shine. And the other area that we talked about was defensively. The Lakers just couldn't get a stop when they needed to. Now, they're giving up 3-point shots from half court. So some of those, like, what, do you want him to block that? Like, I don't know what more you want to do on those when the team is just jacking those up and they're just feeling it. So a little bit of the credit does go to Minnesota, but the Lakers, again, they couldn't stop the bleeding when that was happening. And then Minnesota's strong defense is turning into fast break points. Through 3 quarters, fast break points were 23-4. Minnesota was just out and running on the Lakers and crushing them in that way. And you think about, like, all these LeBron teams over the years, they were the ones who dominated in the fast break, and those were the ones that really ended up killing you. Minnesota was able to get that. But again, Anthony Edwards was big in this game, and just a lot of guys stepped up in some big time ways. Reid probably being the chief among them. And now for the Lakers, there are concerns, right? You need more than just Luka on the offensive side of things. LeBron, I think they said the first time in his playoff career, he had 0 points in the first quarter. He was kind of silent and just kind of letting Luka do his thing. But then when they needed more than just Luka, it was still just Luka doing his thing. Reeves didn't have a phenomenal game, and boy, did they beat him up defensively. No one really had a great game offensively, aside from Luka Doncic. And so they are going to need that. They're going to need more than that to be successful and make this run that a lot of people expected them to make when you go out and make that Luka Doncic move, and you end up getting a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves aren't your regular 6 seed, but you're not going to get regular 6 seeds in the West for a bit because of how stacked this conference is. So they are going to need more from LeBron in game number 2. They're going to need more from Reeves in game number 2, and they're going to have to figure out this thing defensively. Now, you have to assume that, like, 21 three-pointers probably aren't going in on you for the next game, in game 2. But, I mean, like, 15 is still a lot. And so where does the rest of the defense come from? Like Reeves got exposed on the defensive end. And so all the areas you were worried about on the Lakers really shined through. And then a couple areas you weren't even thinking about also struggled in this game. I still think the Lakers have what it takes to win this series, but they need to show it. And I thought JJ Redick was right in his kind of chat with the ESPN sideline reporter. The Lakers played like this was a regular season game. Timberwolves didn't, and that was a big difference in this one. Speaking of different, Steph Curry, another brilliant performance for the for the Golden State Warriors against the Houston Rockets. Now, in his career, I don't think this probably cracks his top 50 for games, but 31 points, 12 of 19 shooting, another 5 of 9 from 3. He's special, and it is just an absolute joy and treat to be able to watch him play at this high of a level consistently. And this is tell your grandkids about type of stuff for Steph Curry. The thing that would concern me a little bit from a Golden State standpoint is you have an epic performance from Steph. Jimmy Butler puts on a very, very strong showing. You couldn't even break 100, and you only won by 10. So there's a little bit of a concern there that you had your best case scenario from your best guys, and it was still a bit of a rock fight for a lot of this game. There was quite a bit that I think was played at the Houston Rockets pace, and I think even though you lose on home court and you lose by double digits in game one, I still think that there is a lot that you can take away positively from a Rockets standpoint. A lot of guys making their playoff debut, and now you've experienced this, now you've experienced them. Can we go out and play our basketball now? I think Şengün getting those big numbers in the paint, that's going to be repeatable. No one else on Golden State is his size. Now it is just about how do you play off of that. And now we're not exactly talking about Bill Russell as a passer in the paint there for Şengün, and we are talking about a fairly responsible Golden State team. So I don't think all of a sudden they're going to rush in any sort of wild ways that is going to lead to a lot of open looks for some of these guys, and that's going to allow a Van Vliet to get going, or a Brooks to get going, or a Thompson to get going, or anything like that. I think Golden State is smarter than that, but I do still think that we saw best case scenario from a couple big guys on Golden State, and we didn't see close to that for the Rockets, and they still were able to keep this one relatively close-ish on this night. So some positives to take away, I think, on the Houston Rockets side of things. Moral victories, a couple of teams could say they had them in the playoffs on the first weekend. You cannot say that about the Memphis Grizzlies. They just got absolutely worked over and just destroyed by Oklahoma City. 6 players for the Thunder get into double digits. No one played more than 26 minutes. They showed up in a big-time way and just really put that foot down like, hey, this is who we are, and we're not messing around this time in the playoffs at all. This wasn't close. From the word go, it wasn't close. And Memphis, they're just, talent-wise, they're not close to them. We kind of broke down the Memphis-Dallas game a little bit, as, okay, well, they got this. They have no answer for anything that Oklahoma City wants to do on either end. Defensively, they can shut things down. Offensively, there isn't a whole lot that Memphis can offer. And so my one note on the Memphis side is this is where we missed the 5-game series in the first round. Because, yeah, this one's going to be over very, very quickly. Speaking of which, the Celtics, just too good. It's not fair when Derek White can score 30. Didn't get a chance to check. I feel pretty good that their record is probably pretty strong when White is scoring 30 here. This is what this series is going to be, is the Magic have 2 guys who you feel confident in, and they have an offense that struggles and a defense that is very good, but not good enough to drag the Celtics down into a game where their scoring output is going to be comfortable for them. And so you look at it like it's just the Magic are who we thought they were. Banchero, 36 points, 11 rebounds. Wagner had 23 points. No one else had more than 7. And they're not going to be able to keep up with Boston scoring. Their defense is excellent, but it's not going to be able to limit Boston in the way that you need to. And you limited Tatum and Brown, and White still killed you. Like, there's so many options on this team. They are so good, and they are really going to shine, I think, as this series probably is a pretty quick one. Ditto out with Cleveland and Miami. The Cavaliers with a statement over the Miami Heat. Miami, they don't have a clear answer for the guard play of the Cavs. Ty Jerome was a beast with 28 coming off the bench. Mitchell and Garland go for 30 and 27. Bam is awesome, but he can't guard everyone. And so you see, like, the points for the bigs, not a whole lot. Now, there wasn't a whole lot for them because the guards kept scoring the whole time, but it is great for Miami that they got here and battled their way through that overtime game against Atlanta to get into this spot, but they aren't close to Cleveland, and they actually stack up in a way that is really, really bad against this Cavs team. So this is another one that you can kind of see being a bit of a quicker series, because Miami, it's just their vulnerabilities on the defensive side can be attacked very aggressively by Cleveland. And now look, Cleveland is a team that you can say that about anyone, and Cleveland can do that, because we can say, like, okay, defensively the guards for Miami have their moments, and so they can take advantage of them. But if we were talking about the Lakers and their problems on the interior, okay, well, Cleveland can take advantage of that too. Like, this is just a spectacularly built basketball team that would do this to a lot of teams in this first round. And so that the eventual challenge moving up is going to be, I think, interesting. You look at how the bracket would stack up. Obviously, Cleveland has the 1 seed. They would not have to worry about the Celtics until the East final, and they'll get the winner of the series we're going to talk about in a second, but they just stack up really well against everyone. So very fascinated to see what this whole thing is going to look like when we get down to, with all due respect, but the high-level teams coming out of this. A reminder that the stream's a little long today. If you need that fuel, check out swiftenergy.gg. Use the code PKPrimetime for 25% off. Let me put that up on the screen again. PK Primetime at swiftenergy.gg. They got some really good flavors, some really good merch as well to help you out with all of that. So check them out there. The Milwaukee Bucks are in trouble, man. With no Lillard, they are really having to work really, really hard to get their buckets. And like the Pacers, we'll talk about them defensively in a second. Good on them for what they have been able to do so far defensively, but this is not a team that you should be working that hard against on the offensive side of things. And it just felt like with no Lillard out there, and that's going to be like blood clots, that's serious. With no Lillard, it was just really, really difficult for Milwaukee to get anything going on their offensive side. And then defensively, they were just getting killed. No perimeter defense, and they just got beat up at the rim because of it. Everything that the Pacers wanted to do offensively, they could do. They were attacking so effectively, and then you start to collapse on that, and then you start kicking it out, and then you get Turner open for 3, and you get Siakam open for 3, and you get all these different things, and it just really starts to pile on. So credit goes to the Indiana Pacers for a really dynamic performance. They looked really good. Nembhard was a stud in game 1. He took it to him off the dribble. He was hitting from distance as well. He just had a really well-rounded attack. And like you look at this, like Halliburton, I didn't even stop to look at his numbers. Like he had a fine game, but this was not a game where Halliburton took over. This was about Nembhard and about Turner and about Siakam and about those guys being weapons on the offensive side of things. And when Turner and Siakam are hitting from deep, this team becomes almost unstoppable at that point. And you could see like Giannis, he wants to get up on Siakam, but Pascal is still quick enough that he can go off the dribble too. And so even Giannis, this excellent defender, is kind of caught in no man's land because everything is falling for the Pacers, but they're also killing you when they get into the paint. And so it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. When things are rolling that way, the Pacers offensively are a really fun team to watch. The upgrade this year for them, and I get they went far last year, but no one took that super seriously. The upgrade for them is that they have really worked hard on the defensive side of things. This is not the Pacers from a year ago. This is a team that has really stepped up their game defensively and really worked at everything to start to make this a bit more of a complete basketball team. Now, again, they're not Orlando when it comes to defense. It is still a weakness for them, but you're not just going to be able to blow by them. It's going to be 140 to 135. This is going to be a team that is going to make you work on the offensive side. That is for sure. So I don't know what the answer for the Bucks is. It basically is play Giannis 48 minutes and just hope for the best. Because offensively, it looked like a grind. And defensively, it looked like a major problem all game. And it's tough to have to fix both of those at playoff time. So that is the rundown of everything from the NBA. Going to have more of a recap coming up on the stream on Tuesday. Again, we'll be live coming up Tuesday at 10 a.m. on twitch.tv/primetimepk, youtube.com/@couchpotatodiary, and kick.com/primetimepk.